What's going on, gamers? This is going to be a different topic, but of course, there's going to be some salt coming out of it. And I've been enjoying some of the salty comments from PC fanboys and Xbox fanboys lately, definitely in the Steam world. I think that's absolutely it's just made my day. It's so funny. Oh man, cracking me up. Now, I don't know if you guys remember when I used to do PlayStation fanboy headlines too, and I was being critical on Sony to turn PlayStation around, which they have done big time. But you got some people not realizing that I've done that before. Like I said, Nintendo is doing the best lately. But the funny thing here is we're going to talk about PlayStation State of Play. We're going to mention the Xbox Game Showcase, and then the rumor of the Nintendo Direct dropping in the next few days on June 4th, which I think is going to be excellent. But there's something interesting that's going to be happening with the State of Play, because anytime you think of PlayStation, there's always some saltiness coming from the Xbox community about exclusivity lately, and just in general, and definitely now the PC community, since they lost their games, and they're going to be salty by seeing some of those Nintendo first-party games too. So we got a lot to talk about here. Become a member if you guys want. It's only $3. Leave a tip down below. Would appreciate that. Like, comment, subscribe. Let's go. Hopefully everyone is having a great weekend. I know I have. I've been going out having some good times. Definitely during the weeks as well too. We got some new stuff in the rotations. Met some really cool people. But getting back to this. This State of Play, I think, is going to make Xbox fanboys more salty than they've ever been. Same thing for PC fanboys. Now, one difference here is that Xbox is not getting PlayStation games, and it didn't even get those other PlayStation games. You had to go on Steam to get PlayStation games, all right? But the funny thing here is I think Sony is going to announce more exclusives than they ever have, because all these games that you're going to be seeing now are going to be only on PlayStation. Right? And every time they see that, they're going to get salty because they're going to realize the Xbox Helix launch is cooked. Steam Machine is cooked because nobody want that overpriced, old, outdated hardware like the Steam Deck. I might as well go ahead and say it because it's going to be incredibly expensive. And I have somebody commenting earlier too about certain things, people saying about the PS6 price. All I got to say is you need to understand that the PlayStation 6 price is going to align with the 2028 year. We're still in 2026. PS5 Pro and PS5 are not going to be the price that they are now in 2028. You're insane if you think that. So fans think PlayStation State of Play might be one of the biggest of all time. Sony's actually doing live countdowns on their website, and they're setting it up in movie theaters in the United States, which is interesting. They're setting up watch parties with invited media and influencers. So I think they're going to have some heavy-hitting exclusives coming on here. Nintendo, too. Nintendo is going to be coming heavy, I'm telling you. As usual, I can always rely on them for exclusives, but Sony knows the mistakes they've made, so I can't wait to see the exclusive identity that's going to be represented by Sony and Nintendo. First, we got to realize when that Direct is coming, because they haven't had a huge one all year, but they're still doing record-breaking stuff. You know what I mean? Nintendo and Sony are both winning. I'd say across the world, though, Nintendo has a very nice equilibrium that I really love, and they never abandon Japan. That's one thing that I like about them. Now Sony is learning some things though. Like I said, they have huge turnarounds. They got back in there some Japanese leaders, but this market is just insane. So everybody is taking ridiculous routes of jacking up the price, but nothing is worse than the Steam Deck. I'm sorry, I just don't understand. But what do you guys think that they're going to announce when it comes to exclusives? I'm telling you right now, Cory Burlock's IP, I think, is going to show up. Intergalactic is going to make a heavy presence. Wolverine is going to make a heavy presence. There's going to be some money hats that you don't know exist. There's going to be some revival of PlayStation Classics. And I want you to think about all these games they're going to be showing. And the Horizon team has to have been doing something too. On top of other devs as well. You know, Sucker Punch, Infamous, you know, maybe a Next Gen Infamous. I don't know. But all those games that are coming are only going to be on PS5 and PS5 Pro. And that all those games are going to get cross-generation support with PSSR 3. Because everything's getting PSSR 2 is coming out first party. Or the PS6. This also gives you the idea of what you're going to be able to play much better on a PlayStation 6. So remember that, because there's going to be, I think, this is what I think. I think there's going to be a lot of cross-generational support between the PS5 and the PS6. And the reason why I say this is because if the PlayStation 6 has to be at least $700, Sony's going to have to need that high install base of the PS5 as like the low entry point for the PS5 models, or PlayStation ecosystem, sorry. And then the PS5 Pro being the mid-gen option, and PS6 being the high-end option, with the PlayStation handheld, which is going to have the Nintendo Switch like qualities and be able to be docked, is going to have the handheld hybrid powerhouse option. So it's going to be that PlayStation ecosystem, and all these exclusive games that they're announcing are going to be played between those. And the PS5 base is the lower end option, cheaper entry, which will go down to I think like $400 when the PS6 launches. You can't have it still sitting there like that. They're gonna have to drop the price. It just doesn't make any sense. Stupid. So either way, though, it's just going to be PlayStation exclusive identity and not tied to be exclusive on the PS6. When I think that if it's going to be selling at that price, you don't want to try to get exclusive sales on that low install base. You guys see what I'm saying? You're going to need the PlayStation 5 for a good while, the first 3 years minimum. And that's okay. And if you want to make a primary PlayStation 6 exclusive to move PlayStation 6 hardware, like God of War Egypt or something, you know what I mean? It was going to be like main line, or Uncharted 5 on PS6 from the ground up, then it's like, okay, that's going to still sell 10 million and move millions of consoles. I think something like that will happen on PS6. Well, they have something like that, but they're going to have a good amount of games still be cross-gen. Like, for example, Spider-Man 3 can be a PS6 exclusive because it's Spider-Man. And you can have the bundles. They'll sell millions of PlayStation 6s. You see what I mean? But I think when it comes to other games, they're going to probably try to make their engines scalable. Remember what Capcom said about Resident Evil 9? It wasn't that it was hard to get it on the Switch 2 at 60 frames per second. The reason why we were able to do that compared to back then, I want you guys to think about this when it comes to cross-gen, is that we designed our engine to be scalable all the way down to the lowest denominator. Instead of having an engine that's specifically designed for one platform, then that makes the Switch 2 not be behind in technology. That's why we can give you the 60 frames per second. And that's why I was trying to tell people that cross-gen doesn't matter more compared to where it did back then. Definitely with the Unreal Engine 5 early era, it was bad. And people thinking things were held back. I was like, well, that depends if it's engine scalability or an engine designed for a specific piece of hardware. Now, everybody has been making multi-platform games, you know what I mean? And been making their first-party games multi-platform this whole generation besides Nintendo. Even Sony knew what that meant, to say scalability across multiple pieces of hardware. Now they're doing it in their own ecosystem with PS5 and PS5 Pro. And then you're going to have the handheld and PS6. So whether you like it or not, they're going to have to do engine scalability. And Sony engines are actually really good. Now, when it comes to Xbox, their engines are good too. And Phil Spencer even admitted that, you know, I think the way this generation was kind of going on was kind of wrong. But, you know, them designing games for the highest graphics card rigs, because there was the Series S judgments and slamming going down big time. And he was like, it wasn't really that the Series X was a crutch, but more like people are looking at it wrong. They should be designing for the lowest denominator all the way up to the highest denominator. And I think anybody with these potato PC rigs and medium PC rigs even understand that. That's why the Switch 2 is such a powerhouse at the moment, because they have learned these methods. Plus they have DLSS, which is way better than any FSR until you get the FSR 4. Then finally you're saying FSR 4 is worth it. But other than that, DLSS has always destroyed it easily. But with FSR 4.1 and the neural networking equivalent of PSSR 2 being on there, AMD has made a jump to get in front of NVIDIA's face. So I think with Sony having these exclusives only and PlayStation Revival Classics, it needs to be scaled down to the PlayStation 5, and it needs to be scaled all the way up to be maxed out like a max PC for the PS6. The PS6 is going to be the max out PC console. You see what I mean? And embarrassing the majority of most of the PCs in the gaming industry. This perspective needs to be talked about in this video, because that's why I was saying what I was saying before. They're going to have all those exclusive identities and be able to give you everything you want in their ecosystem, except Nintendo exclusives and Nintendo identity, which we know Japan's supposed to hell out of Nintendo, but I can't say I blame them. Nintendo's amazing. Now, with the Nintendo Direct, which we know it is coming, we just don't have a date, but it's around the corner. It's the same thing. They're going to drop a ton of exclusive games. And they're going to get a ton of third-party support that's going to be continued to come. The third-party support on Nintendo Switch 2 has been amazing, and it's only going to grow. And then I think in the future, as NVIDIA develops more technologies and work more with Nintendo, kind of like how Mark Cerny has worked with Jack with AMD, they're going to get like a frame generation mini and be able to give you like an extra 20 frames per second on certain games. And that's going to be very nice. Once they do that, man, I'm telling you, drop the Switch 2 OLED, it's going to happen. And the Switch 2 Mini, where it's handheld only for like $400. I'm telling you, that's going to happen. Get ready for that. That'll probably come out before the OLED, because they want to have that cheaper option. Definitely with how insane this market is going at the moment. So I think that's going to happen. But yeah, the Nintendo Direct, dude, if they drop Ocarina of Time Remake, I don't think you understand. I'm jumping out of a window from upstairs into a swimming pool, like just diving into the deep part, though. Yeah, don't do anything else. But no, I mean, I'm gonna jump for joy. I think the whole world's gonna go nuts, because that game right there is one of the most legendary games of all time. Hey, 64 days. I'm telling you, that game was so good. Screw that water temple puzzle though. Oh man, everybody was stuck on that. I remember how annoyed I was getting with that. But the thing here is, like, when it comes to that, yeah, Nintendo's going to have some amazing games. Sony's going to have some amazing games that are going to be only in their ecosystem to push their hardware. And Xbox is going to be advertising third party, so they could have some amazing games. They may have some other stuff up their sleeve. The difference here is that Microsoft is coming as a third party publisher with a exclusive ecosystem called Xbox, right? Though you don't really feel like you're exclusive over there anymore, except if you got Game Pass. Because if you're a console guy and you don't give a damn about PCs, then Game Pass is something that only exists on Xbox. Like PlayStation Plus and Extra, specifically, even that only exists there. Like Nintendo Online only exists in the Nintendo world. They all have their own ecosystems with at least that going on. The difference is that Xbox does not have any identity that powers up its world. And a lot of people have tried to cry as much as they could about it. But as much as I hate to say it, Matt Booty made it clear. Asha said what she wanted to say, but they said it. Get ready, because this is going to be all about PlayStation and Steam and Nintendo. And of course, on Game Pass, day one. And maybe some games not. I don't know if they plan on changing anything with that. But get ready for that. That's going to be the difference here. That doesn't mean Xbox Showcase is going to be bad. It just means that don't think that it's going to be about you. It can't anymore, because it doesn't work. You don't buy enough games, and the install base is not big enough, and the hardware just fell off a cliff a while ago. Whereas PlayStation is doing that to strengthen its ecosystem and get people ready for the PS6, to where you have all these games that are going to get PSSR 3 support day one on the PlayStation 6, plus new games coming out too on PlayStation 6 that'll have PS5 cross support as well. And the market completely being different, because I think this AI bubble is going to crash. I don't care what anyone tells me. It's not staying like this. It's going to crash, because a lot of them morons need to wake up, and they can F off with their electronic cartel manipulation. But for Nintendo, they're going to be fine too, because they got Pokemon winning waves. You know, they're going to have another next gen one. They're going to have remakes. They're going to have the next gen Zelda. They're going to have next gen Animal Crossing, next gen Smash Brothers, Zelda Ocarina of Time remake. I mean, we're going to have the next mainline Mario, new IPs. You got the Splatoon and Star Fox coming around the corner, next gen Fire Emblem. They're always going to have the heat, because they just make a ton of first party games. They're going to be very set, and they're fine. They just need to never raise that price again. If this market gets better, please raise it down again, or bring it down. Because I know even with that $50 increase, that's not enough for them. They're still going to lose money, but they can't afford to do that. It's too early. I thought they should have subsidized all the way to the end of the year into January, and took a little bit more of a hit, then did the $50 at the beginning of the year. At least they still gave people till September. And in Japan, you already get a really good deal with the Japanese only model, because you could still pay much cheaper. And have somebody try to bring it up. I says, you do realize that that's because it's a one language model, right? When you do multi-language models, it's going to cost more money. Understand the way the market works. I was still laughing at that comment, because he didn't understand. I was like, Sony did the same thing with the PlayStation 5, but it didn't work in Japan, because with Japan, they're a little bit different. Identity matters. Respect and love matters. The way Sony has treated Japan in the past, it kind of reflects the way that they think about them. And they're also a handheld nation. So they play docked too. Don't think that they don't. I don't know why people think that they're only handheld. I'm like, no, they have a lot of PC rigs too. Trust me. It's not the old Japan where there's only one TV in a household and everybody's sharing that, so you got to go handheld. I mean, I'm not saying there's still any houses like that, but it's definitely more modern. When you think about the modern Tokyo as well. So I want you guys to let me know, what do you think is going to be showing up at PlayStation State of Play? And with the Nintendo Direct, what do you want to see there besides what I just said? There's a lot of potential to show up there as well, but mainly, we know what's coming around the corner in 3 days, because it's right here in front of us. Actually, less than that now. This is before that. No, actually, this is going to be coming out in 2 days now. So yeah, I'm excited for this. I can't wait to see what exclusives are going to be showing, because this is just going to make things very interesting, and it's going to shut up PC fanboys. Xbox fanboys are not, I'm not really saying much against them, because at least they were trying to fight for their exclusivity, whereas PC was thinking that it could be hypocrites and keep a lot of games in the Steam ecosystem, but yet complain about Sony not sharing their games. Well, Sony ended up sharing all their games, but the Valve still wants to play that game, because they monopolize big time too. Let's not be naive here. All of them do it. Nintendo, the least. They're the most creative and most inspiring, and they don't chase power. You really don't need to. If you really think about most of the games that dominated the world, they're not powerhouse engines like Minecraft, Pokemon, Mario, League of Legends, Call of Duty when it was. You know what I mean? Fortnite, though they've upgraded the engine over time. But like those games, Roblox, right? Like I said, they're not, it's not about graphics. It's about the experience that you're having, how much fun you're having. And I think that's where sometimes Western society can lose its way a bit because it gets too stuck on details. And it's like, bro, that's not the most important thing for a game, though. See? Switch 1 proved that. And actually, all the handhelds that I sold, the PlayStation handhelds, significantly proved that. It's never really about graphics. It's more about everything else that matters. The graphics to me is the presentation and the coding. But that's just surface, right? You know how many games look good this generation, though? And you talk about engines, too, and then people just go to the dashboard. Some of them go play older games on PC. It's like, no. The game has to be really good. Now, when you have that technical showcase and the whole game is good, oh, man, it's heaven on earth, right? But give me a good gameplay, good direction, good story, good writing, evergreen formulas like replay value, good online engagement, focusing on good content instead of trying to make me gamble 24/7. But yeah, so guys, this is the thing. Let me know what you think about the PlayStation State of Play being an exclusive. Are you ready? Being an exclusive imprint from Sony after them changing what they said about PC. Like, get ready, because now we're about to show you. Nintendo doing it too, but we got to get the date, and an Xbox about everywhere else. So that means that your games have to be good, Microsoft. Gears has to do well. Gears cannot fail. You delayed Fable out of this year as well, too. Call of Duty is Call of Duty. But anyways, let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Later. Peace out. Keep on gaming no matter what platform you're on.